to today's video, which is my lupus 5-year anniversary video. I don't know what I call these. It's been 5 years, basically exactly, since I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. I was actually diagnosed on the 29th of July 2016. And I like to do these yearly updates because so much is constantly changing with my lupus, with the way I handle it, with the way my life changes because of it. And so it's really good for me to be able to watch back, and it's also, I think, being helpful for people who are newly diagnosed, or who are also are a year in, or who are also 5 years in, or whatever the case. And I want to be transparent and say straight up that it's kind of bad timing for me filming this, because I always film these with the intention and hope that they will be overwhelmingly positive and uplifting, and give hope to people who are newly diagnosed or who are trying to get diagnosed, because ultimately I do believe my life quality, my life in general overall, is better with my lupus now than it has been since I got diagnosed. But the reason I want to be the thing I want to be transparent about is that right now, very currently, in the last three months, yes, May, June and July have been incredibly difficult for me with my health, and so I'm actually in a really bad place right now. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but then again, that's kind of perfect, because it's like exactly what it's like living with chronic illness and lupus in general. But yeah, so I want to be honest about the ways in which I'm struggling, but I also want to make it clear that I do think 5 years on, my quality of life as a whole, living with lupus, is the best it's been since before I was diagnosed. So yeah. So I am in a new location. I'm on my sofa in my cuddly little spot that I have. Normally I like to film somewhere a bit more pretty and somewhere where I set it up, but I'm just too unwell, and our house is all over the place at the moment because we're having some work done, but also because we're hoping to move really soon. So yeah, it's all a bit crazy, and so I just thought, you know what, especially for this type of video, like, if I want to be honest and real about things, then this is that, because I do not feel able to go and set up something pretty. I feel much more comfortable and able to be just sitting on my sofa here with you guys, so I hope you don't mind. I do usually like to just kind of talk from the heart in these videos, but I have also written a couple of things down that I want to talk about, because I also just haven't done a lupus update of any kind in a hot minute. So I guess I could talk straight away about what's been going on with me the last 3 months. So basically, the long and short of it is, I don't know what's been going on with me. I was having a load of new symptoms that I haven't had before, and that I was convinced actually wasn't lupus related, and wasn't like my lupus making me feel so unwell. But I have been so unwell, like literally only moving from my bed to my sofa, back to bed, kind of unwell. just suffering has been the word that I keep using. I just feel like it's been non-stop suffering the last few months, and suffering and struggling, and it's been really, really difficult, and it is taking its toll on my mental health at this point quite severely. I've been very depressed, and just frustrated and stressed because so fairly early on I suffered in silence for a few weeks with these new symptoms and kept thinking, and the only reason I'm not going into specifics, by the way, about what those symptoms are is because I still do not know if it is my lupus or not, and so I don't want to list it here and then have people who are new to lupus thinking that they definitely are symptoms of lupus or aren't, because I don't know yet. So I'm just trying to be responsible. But yeah, I suffered for a few weeks and then I thought, no, it's just not going away, it's not changing. I don't normally, with my lupus flares, there's kind of a pattern that I've come to recognise, and I kind of ride the wave and then I can feel myself coming back out the other side of it, and I can tell what, like, there's always like these little signs that I'm coming out of a flare before I'm actually out of it, if that makes sense. So, and none of that was happening. It just was like constantly at the same level, and my flares are often bumpy roads, so that was strange. And so I did make an appointment with my GP, and I have now been for like 4 different lots of blood testings. I've had samples of every kind taken. I've had scans, tests, everything done, and lots of really scary stuff was being thrown at me, like that they thought I was having an ectopic pregnancy, and then they thought I was miscarrying, and none of that. They don't now think that that is what was happening, thankfully, but they did for a long time, and it was really scary. I don't know, it's just been a lot, and emotionally a lot as well, and I'm very drained. I've got like extreme fatigue on top of my normal level of extreme fatigue. Just a whole new level of fatigue and weakness, like, that I don't think I've ever experienced before. Like, my body feels so weak that I can barely like lift my hand to feed myself some days. And it came out of nowhere as well, and yeah, I'm still no closer to knowing what is up, because all of my test results keep coming back very confusing. It's just been a lot, and I'm nowhere nearer to answers than I was 3 months ago when I first went in. But this kind of leads me on nicely to the next thing, that I did just recently, last week, see my rheumatologist actually in person for the first time in 2 years because of the pandemic. We've been obviously having consultations over the phone, but it was the first time I went in, and I was asked whether or not I wanted to go in, and I said yes, because I was hopeful that he was going to give me some treatment that he's given me before, that when the pandemic started, he said he couldn't give me because he couldn't see me in person, which then changed to that he couldn't give me it because of the way the treatment is thought to have, or back then was thought to have, interacted with COVID. So the thing I went to him about was that for this treatment was that the rash on my face, and you can't see it today because of my makeup, and also because you kind of even can see it, but I've got makeup on it, but I've also got 2 different lots of 50 factor sun cream on it, of factor 50 sun cream on it, because I put that on my face every day anyway, but there's this like really thick baby sun cream that I use on my rash. It's like one of the only things that makes it feel less slightly less uncomfortable. Basically, it's just been burning, and like 24/7 my face is just burning. It's on fire, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it's sore. I have to ice my face constantly. I can't sleep because of it. Like, it's just so uncomfortable. And when I saw him the last time in person 2 years ago, and I was going through that, he was like, I have this injection I could give you. It's steroids and something else. I can't remember what the other thing was, but he was like, if I give you that and it helps the rash, then we know that it's definitely your lupus. It's definitely your lupus rash, and it's not some other skin problem. And it did. It helped immensely for like 3 months, and then it wears off. And then, yeah, I just haven't been able to see him. And then it was the steroids that he was worried about. And then I saw him and I said to him, look, since summer hit, which I know is like, summer's the worst time for people with lupus. Since summer hit, I'm in agony with it again, in the hopes that he would give me the same treatment. And he just went, yeah, I think that's just something you're going to have to put up with through summer. And normally, I'm tongue-tied because I get annoyed with myself, because I think of him as a really good doctor, and then stuff like this happens and I'm like, well, you're not going to even attempt to treat me. And he was the one that gave me it, so, and it worked. So I don't know if it's still a COVID thing, but he just didn't bring it up, and I was just so like sucker punched by him just being like, oh, just put up with it, it's summer, that I didn't bring it up, which I'm annoyed about. And it's like annoying. The reason I like laughed to myself and got tongue-tied is because I think of him as a really good doctor, because even with him refusing to help my symptoms and the other faults that he has, which I'll talk about, he's 10 times better than most other doctors I see. That just goes to tell you the level of doctors I get unlucky enough to be treated by. But yeah, which I also think is just a generalised chronic illness experience. The other problem is that my lupus bloods come back, and they were okay, and okay for someone with lupus, and because of that he basically doesn't care about anything I say that I'm suffering with. It's just like, oh, but your bloods are okay, so I'm not worried. Oh, but your bloods are okay, so I'm not worried. It's like, but I'm a human being and I'm suffering so badly that it's making me deeply depressed, so you should be worried. But he's not, because my bloods were okay. The reason that in particular is really frustrating is because it's like well known that in lupus is like known as the great pretender. Like, your bloods can be okay, but you are not as the person okay, and your symptoms are really bad and you're suffering a lot. And so it's just frustrating. But yeah, I saw my rheumatologist and that's how that went. Other than that, he gave me pretty good, like, I asked for advice on a few different things, and he was fairly positive about that, so that was good. And that brings me to my next thing, which is, so I've talked about this in a few different videos throughout time. I suffer really badly with occipital neuralgia and migraines, chronic migraines. Cat is coming in here just trying to terrorise my life. Cleo, can you come and chill out? She doesn't know how to chill out, it's just not in her being. Yeah, I suffer really badly with that, and the treatment for that is, like, I have a nasal spray, a tablet, and another tablet that I take if and when I get a migraine. But I also have to go and have a GON injection, which is a greater occipital nerve injection, and it's actually a nerve block, and I have the injection in the back of my head. And the last 2 times I've gone, I've had 2. So the first time I had it done, I had just one side done. I had my right side done. The next time I had both sides done, and this time I had both sides done. The last time I had both sides done was back in like September 2020, around that time. and I didn't feel like she got it in the right place exactly, because it's a very like exact science. Just based on that, my experience of it from the last time I'd had it done was not the same at all, and I didn't feel as much benefits from it. And then I wondered though, could that just be the way it is? I've heard that that can happen with people, but this time, the moment she did it, I could feel she got that baby right on point. And I have been feeling the benefits of that, but I'm still really suffering with the back of my head. So it's just that basically my greater occipital nerve, which is one of the main nerves from your brain to your spine, mine is really swollen. And that causes an intense pain that I cannot even describe. It is like that pain that makes you physically sick. It's deep in your soul pain, and it makes me completely unable to literally do anything. Move, talk, cry, eat. Like, it's horrific, completely debilitating. And I don't know when my next neurology appointment is, because of the pandemic, everything's been on the phone. So I need to check that, but I really want to discuss with him, because we never really have, why this started for me and where it came from, and can I have an MRI. So basically I was seeing this neurologist, and he is really good as well. Most of my London based doctors are really good. And yeah, I went to see him about my chronic migraines I've suffered with since I was a teenager, and he gave me the best help I'd ever had and took me the most seriously I'd ever been taken. And then after being treated by him but for a few years, all of a sudden I started getting this different kind of migraine in amongst my other normal migraines, which was this pain in the back of my head that was completely knocking me out. And I explained that to him, and I said I felt like the back of my head felt swollen all the time, and like hot and sore and bruised. And he felt it and said, yes, it is swollen and you need this injection. And that's when we started that like care plan. But we never discussed why that happened. Like, why did I all of a sudden out of nowhere have the back of my head swell up? Why has no one ever looked at that? That to me is like worrying. And I vaguely remember, and I'm going to go and check through my records, but I vaguely remember that he said at the time that he wanted me to have an MRI and an ECG, and he sent me downstairs, and I had the ECG there and then, and everything was fine with my heart. And then I just never got the MRI, because I'm pretty sure it was meant to go through my GP surgery. They couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery, so it never happened. And I'm concerned about that. I don't know, the way I've been suffering the last few months, I just am getting more and more angry and frustrated. Like, why is everyone okay to leave me with no answers, leave me to suffer, leave me to struggle, leave me with no quality of life whatsoever? But no one, like, why do I not know why all these things are happening? And not my lupus, like, I know that, but stuff like my migraines, it's like, why did they change? And like, was that never looked into or taken seriously? Because my husband, for example, went into his doctors, which is a different doctors to me, about when he started getting migraines, and was immediately sent for an MRI and had loads of different tests, and it's just frustrating. So that's kind of what's been going on with me recently with my lupus. But let's talk about the last 5 years, and what's different and what's new and what's the same. So my main symptoms are still, I have a lot of skin involvement, so rashes, and mainly the rash on my face is permanent, 24/7, doesn't go away, doesn't change, it just is the way it is. But through summer it does this terrible burning thing that's horrific. And then pain and fatigue, they're like my main, I'd say like the hardest symptoms to live with. And then I have hair loss that's really hard to deal with as well. And And I have sleep problems and a lot of different things, but those are my main big things. And in terms of what's different from 5 years ago, I just think it's learning a new normal. And the other day, just in passing, my husband referred to my lupus as that I'd gone through this like life-altering illness. And I actually thanked him for referring to it as that, because that's how I feel it was. But I don't feel like anyone else around me recognises that that's how it was and is for me. But my life was completely turned upside down 10 million times when I got ill. And having people validate your experience like that is really important. So surround yourself with people who do that for you. Finding an online community of people who live with similar or the same conditions and disabilities has been life-changing. Validating in a way that I don't think I ever would have had by now in my real life circles and interactions. And that's been a game changer for just knowing the way you feel about what you're going through is perfectly okay and normal and valid, and also just like when you have such a complicated illness and it's got such a long list of symptoms, you can get caught up in like, is this my lupus or is it something else? And sometimes the online community can make you realise, oh, this is something everyone with lupus suffers with, or most people, or I don't know, it's just that I think living with these types of things is really isolating, and that's been my experience anyway, and the internet has made it feel less so. So find your people and in real life try and find some people, it doesn't have to be many people, but just some people who treat your health issues with the respect and care that they deserve, and who listen to you, and who you don't want to be around people who you have to keep reminding, like, hi, I'm ill, hi, remember me, I'm ill, hi, remember I have lupus, hi, remember I can't do that because I have lupus. Like, that's just exhausting, and that makes you feel invalidated, and it makes you feel unheard and unseen, and that's the last thing you need. So just find people who get you and treat you with the love and care and respect that you deserve. I think I really have had to fight to carve out a more well-rounded life for myself living with lupus, and it's definitely been very difficult and very hard, and I often feel like I'm failing at it, and I often feel like I don't at all have a well-rounded life, and that it's just all taken up by, I refer to as putting out fires, like just symptom fighting constantly, and there's no space for any actual living. But you need to find what works for you as an individual, the balance that works for you, what fulfills you, what makes your heart sing. Do more of that. I think a lot of people who are not disabled or chronically ill don't understand is that when you're living with these things, you have to constantly play a game of, I really need or want to do this thing, but is it worth it? You are weighing up everything constantly. I really need or want to do this thing, but is it worth the pain it will cause me? Is it worth the fatigue it will cause me? Is it worth if I get set back a few days? Is it worth if I'm knocked out for a week? Like, and that is really hard and draining, and often there's no right answer. I just have to make a choice in the moment, really, most of the time. I have to say to myself, okay, this is something I really want to do. It'd be really fun. I'd really enjoy it. It would make my soul set on fire. And so therefore, yeah, okay, I'm down for a week off. I can handle that. And other times I'm like, no, that thing, I would have loved to go, but it is not currently at this moment in time worth a worsening of my symptoms. Sorry, can't do that. And you have to be okay with doing that. I think currently I'm going through a big like episode of really fighting myself. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it. I go through these phases where when I'm really unwell for real long periods of time with no improvement whatsoever, I start getting really down and feeling like, is this what my life's always going to be like? This is too hard, I can't do it. This is too much suffering for my heart to take. When will it ever end? And then I get frustrated at myself that I can't do things, angry at myself, angry at my body. I feel betrayed by my body. I wish I could tell you 5 years in that I don't go through these like phases, but that would be a lie. I do. I'm going through it now. I feel all those things now. I don't really know what advice to give for getting through that, other than that sometimes I literally have to take it hour by hour. Okay, I feel like that. I feel this bad. My mental health is so unwell because of it. So this hour, what can help me feel lighter? What can help me feel more calm? What can help me feel less sad? What can help me feel joy? What can help my symptoms feel a little bit better? And I have to just assess literally every hour. Other times it's day by day, other times it's every few days. I have to check back in with myself and say, okay, I feel really like I've gone down again. How do I pick myself back up? And that'll be individual to you. Mine is balance. I have to have a balance of like actually making sure I'm getting out of the house with some fresh air, even if it only means stepping outside my back door and then coming back in again. I don't know why that helps your mental health, but it does for me. Doing stuff that's just fun, just because it's fun, like playing games, like video games, board games. I love doing that. So we'll do a lot of that, just to have more laughter and joy. A lot of active rest, which is hard for me. I'm still not good at it. What I've found is that if I find a new movie I really want to watch, or a new show I'm really into, that I can just watch all of it, like 4 seasons in a row, like, and anything that will pin me to the bed or sofa where I need to be is good some days. So it's hard. I can't lie and tell you that 5 years in it's like easy, or that I've got it figured out, or that everything's better. But in the beginning, I avoided so much of what made my life out of fear. And now I do have a bit more of an approach of, well, okay, I won't do the thing that I love. I could still wake up tomorrow in more pain than today. Or I could go and do the thing I love and wake up in more pain today, knowing that I might have woken up in the same amount of pain anyway, you know? And balance is just key for me. Doing things that have nothing to do with my illness, to balance out all the things I have to do that are purely because of and or for my illness. Self-care balanced with stuff that might make my pain symptoms worse, but it's just really fun to do and I love doing. Rest, movement, even the food I eat, everything has to be balance, I think, is how I now have a better quality of life. And like, I've come to accept that certain things will just be part of my life, like having to stay in the shade, wear sun cream and giant hats and cover up all through summer. Like, that's just something I'm gonna have to do. And if that means though that I can overall live a better quality of life, then that's something I'm willing to put up with. There are other things though that I'm not willing to put up with. There have been things before that people have suggested to me and I'm like, no, I can't live like that. it's really individual is what I'm trying to say. But 5 years on, I feel like I know more. I don't want to ramble on and bore you any more than I might have already. So I'll wrap it up here by saying that 5 years on, I know way more about my illness, what it looks like for me, how it moves, how it changes, things that make it worse, things that make it easier, things that don't make any difference at all. I have got better at noticing changes in my health quicker and like doing things to help it quicker, which means, again, I think that contributes to my better quality of life, because I can see things sooner, act on them, and that then lessens the amount of time I'm suffering with that thing. I think overall I definitely am more at ease and have come to terms more with my lupus than years before. And then when I first got ill, definitely. It's just that that's hard for me to talk about right now because, like I said, I'm going through a really hard time these last few months. So right now I am kicking and screaming inside and don't accept any of it. But overall, it's definitely better than it's ever been. I think living with something like this can be all-consuming, and I think now, 5 years on, I'm realising that there's my lupus and then there's my life without lupus, like separate from lupus, and that my whole life doesn't have to be run by it. But equally, I've had this mindset shift, which is like I'm almost caring for my lupus more than I am like... My life isn't run by my lupus, but there are a lot of things I have to do all day, every day for my lupus. But the way I see it now has changed. My mindset has shifted to feeling like that's just me caring for myself and caring for my lupus, rather than like this clinical, cynical view I had of like having to treat the illness. Now it feels more just like self-care, if that makes any sense. What would my top tips be moving forward for you if you're living with lupus too? Balance, knowing yourself, listening to your body, learning to say no when you can't do things. Not a no, but no if I could do this, or maybe if you cannot do it, say you cannot do it. Accepting help. I cannot tell you how much using wheelchairs has changed my life for the better. But it took me so long of like fighting, getting into the chair, not wanting to accept that I needed it, which now feels silly, but it's not. It's perfectly valid. But now that I know how much it's changed my life for the better and made my life easier and made my symptoms lesser if I'm travelling anywhere, like, or on a day out or any of these things, I'm like, wow, I should have given in sooner. But that's the other thing. I've said it before, I think, but I don't think you can force this journey. I just don't. I don't think you can force your acceptance to happen quicker. I don't think you can force yourself to be okay with what you're not okay with. So just try and be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with love. Because none of this is easy. It's all really hard. If you need to talk to someone, I'm a huge advocate for therapy. Advocating for yourself is still hard. 5 years on, advocating for myself is still really hard with doctors. I still come across most health providers who don't know what lupus even is. So that's hard. It's hard to then advocate for yourself because most healthcare providers do not like when you know more than they do. But if you know your body and you know your illness, then you know more than they do. And that's just... But it's hard. I often go... Actually, I go to nearly all of my appointments with my husband, because if I am too unwell to advocate for myself, he will advocate for me, and that's something I really recommend. If you have anyone that you trust who can go with you to these things, if you need someone to be your voice, then do that, because that can be a game changer. I just think all of us with chronic illness and disabilities deserve the same quality of life as anyone else who doesn't have these things, and we deserve the same love and respect and kindness and treatment as anyone else. And I just really want us all to be living our best lives. So wherever you find joy, go there. In the people, in the things you do, in the places you are. Do more of that, because I think living with these health issues can be so exhausting, so draining, so hard on your mental health, that you deserve to counteract that and balance it out with tons of things that make you happy and lighten your heart and set your soul on fire. And yeah, 5 years on, there's hope. I'm excited about my future. I have a better quality of life. Things feel more under control than maybe they ever have, which is so nice. And whilst I am struggling currently, I want that to be the overwhelming message from this video, because I'm sure if you are having symptoms and not yet diagnosed, or if you've just been diagnosed, or if you're a year in and you think, oh my god, things will never change or never get better, that they absolutely can. And I'm just sending you all love if that's the situation you're in. And yeah, that's it for this video. I don't know how long this is going to be because the video got broken up into multiple parts. But thank you for listening, thank you for watching. If you have any other videos that are lupus or health related that you want me to do, feel free to ask. I would love to do those for you. Please do subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. I would love to have you around, and I would love to hit 5,000 subscribers. And yeah, I just hope you're having a great day, whatever you're doing. I hope you can be kind to yourself and treat yourself with love, and do something that makes you happy today. For me, just if you've watched this video, if you've stumbled upon it, go and do something just for fun today. For me, because I told you so. Okay, I'm gonna go. I will see you in my next video. Bye.